Hi, I'm Vadd, and today we're taking a brief survey on whatever this gamer motivation profile here is from Quantic Foundry. Hopefully, it's a lot of fun. Hopefully, get some fun recommendations to see what comes out the other end once we put our answers in to this survey. Do me a favor, if you like this video, click like. YouTube channel members and the Patreon to support what I do. We're going to, of course, have a pinned comment that'll have a link to the survey if you think it's fun and want to take it yourself. And away we go. In a typical week, how many days do I spend at least 30 minutes playing video games? That would be 6 to 7. All right. Would you consider yourself to be a casual, core, mid, hardcore? You're dedicated and play seriously or competitively. You dabble in games, but in short sessions infrequently. So we're not infrequent. We just said 6 to 7 days a week. And you're not super serious or competitive. You know, interesting. This is kind of a bit of a coin flip here where I resonate with the language here at the bottom that says dedicated, right? Is I pretty much show up every day, put in the work, but I tend to avoid competitive games because I am competitive, right? So we're going to say hardcore. Which of these platforms do you usually play on? Ooh, I am a menace. I'm an absolute menace. You better believe handheld, tablet, PC, console, smartphone, anything that's not VR. Oh my goodness. What are some recent games? A few years. Wow. That is a really long period of time. So years. So games that come, the first thing, Baldur's Gate 3, I thought this one was really, really excellent. One of my favorite games is Age of Wonders 4. There it is. And actually still top of my currently running list for this year, best game of the year, or whatever. Power World. That is such an excellent game. It's tough to appreciate just how good Power World is if you don't play the genre. And having played most games in the genre they compete in, it's really shocking how good that game is. These are definitely in my top 10 kind of games from the last few years. Absolutely. Are you currently playing any web, mobile, tablet games? Ooh. It's interesting for this one, it doesn't say over the last few years. Instead, it says, are you currently playing? Like at this exact moment. Oh man. I don't even know if they're gonna have this one. This is kind of real grimy. They do Subterfuge from 2015. Oh man. Just gonna out myself as a scumbag right here, I guess. Yikes. Any games you enjoyed playing recently? Oh man, I love all the games. This is gonna be tough. Ooh. You know what was actually a lot of fun just this last week? How many dudes? I had a lot of fun with this one. I'll have videos editing or whatever and kind of off to the side while something's loading or whatever, downloading. I'll have a run going. I'm still trying to get there's a couple of different dude families I'm still grinding my way through with, like an all warrior run or an all undead or something. Another kind of surprise one for me, I did not think I'd like as much as I did. I haven't talked about this enough, is I haven't settled my mind on it yet, but Dispatch, I thought Dispatch was actually quite good. It was kind of awkward how good it was because it does a lot of things that I don't generally like, but it got away with it. I'm still a little unsettled about it. Can you tell? I have not talked about that a lot across my channels, but it's definitely one that I enjoyed playing recently, and I'm still kind of chipping my way through. Every time I go to uninstall it, I'm like, I kind of liked it though. Like, where was the story going? I'm just a little scared to finish it, I think. Other games just in recent past that I also have really enjoyed, and I'm actually very, very excited for the upcoming expansion for Dragon's Dogma. I think that is so exciting that it's going to get one, as I purposely left things unfinished there so I could I purposely left things in a way where I could come back to it with fresh eyes, or I didn't run every corner down. I kind of blitzed my way through and was like, man, this is so much fun, but I want to come back later, because I was really convinced they'd make an expansion for it, and it's been radio silence until the last 3-4 weeks now. So I was feeling really justified in my patience on that. But yeah, these are 3 games I played recently that I thought were a lot of fun. How important are the following elements and activities when playing a game? Oh boy. How important is it for me to discover something offbeat or unconventional? Don't care. Getting every possible star trophy unlock? Don't care. Characters with interesting backstories and personality? Yep, that matters. Acquiring powerful weapons and artifacts? Now we're talking. Pretending I'm someone or somewhere else. You know, this is kind of a tricky one because I'm not necessarily interested in pretending I am somewhere else or I am someone else, but I want my characters to be authentic to the world they're in. There's nothing worse than having a dude who skateboards who in the middle is like, hey, I got some stock tips for you. Like, shut up, skateboarder dude. Like, I want people that are making decisions or that have options to make decisions that fit the world they're in. And for me, it's not like a sense of escapism. Happy in all conventional definitions of that. I'm not looking to escape my life into some game. I mean, things are going, I have plenty to complain about, but overall, nothing worth really oversharing about. Bottom line, this is kind of a weird one. So I'm going to put it as somewhat important because I'm interpreting this a little bit as I want characters to be authentic to their world, but I'm not necessarily trying to escape into those worlds. But I don't want my immersion ruined because, a character does something inauthentic to who they are. Become as powerful as possible. I think that one's important for me. How many customization colors? Nope. Take the time to practice and master a game. I don't want to do that. If as soon as you start saying you're gonna have to practice this skill, all right, well, maybe it's not a game for me then. Like there's things I have to practice in my work in my personal life that I don't want to practice in my gaming life, right? An elaborate storyline, not important, but it needs to be meaningful. So let's put this one as somewhat important, as I think a storyline that's just too simple is going to fall flat. But I don't mind elaborate. So we'll go very important for me, as we're kind of, again, using broad strokes here. Very interesting language here. As again, elaborate could just mean complicated. And I don't mind if the story gets a little complicated as long as it makes sense. So we're making the assumption here as we answer this that the story does make sense, even if it is elaborate. It has several moving parts. So we'll say very important. Make an effort to get every collectible. Nope, not at all. And I'll tell you why. This is so easy. You know why? It's not previous. Hey, slow it down. No, why this is not important at all. I think a lot of times the achievements and collectibles are not designed in the appropriate way. I've talked about this before very briefly here. I won't rehash that. I won't beat on that drum too long, but I think a good achievement gets you to revisit a world in an interesting way. And a bad achievement says, did you check every corner of the room for all 50 seeds or all 4 or whatever the collectible is? I think a lot of the times the collectibles aren't designed in a thoughtful, handcrafted way. They're in a, how can I get my players to spend more hours in my game? And so not at all. I used to be much more interested in them than I am now. And that's because I think on a long enough timeline as a player, you're going to realize, these games are making me do these collectibles, not because there's something interesting or change the way I play, but because they have no respect for my time and just trying to pad their stats, make themselves look better. And I'm not here to play that game. Take on difficult challenges that may take many tries. Is this important to me? No, I'm absolutely happy to be on easy mode. No problem. Getting to know all the main characters and their backstories. I like that. Accumulate large amounts of, is this important though? See, that's tough, right? Yeah, I think for me, it is important because I don't like when my character goes to do a thing and can't do the thing because they don't have the inventory space or they don't have the currency to buy whatever the thing is. I don't think that's fun. I want to maximize my fun. And there's nothing worse than going to a shop, seeing a new shiny battle axe and your barbarian being like, I want that. And you can't give it to them. So we'll say extremely important again. Complete all possible missions and achievements. This one is important to me. I won't say extremely important as I'm comfortable not beating my head against a wall, or if something's glitched or bugged, I'll just let it go. Like it's not going to ruin my life, but I don't think it's unimportant. So we'll say very important. Dominating other players. Don't care. Playing the game at the highest difficulty level. Don't care. How much do you enjoy? So keyword here is enjoy. Are these elements that we actually enjoy? Whoa, boy, here we go. Do we enjoy games that require long-term planning and strategy? Yep. Do we enjoy going against other players? Nope. Do we enjoy taking on the role of another character person? Sometimes. Gameplay that requires a lot of thinking and planning, no problem. Helping other players, a little bit. Using guns or explosives, somewhat. Grouping up with other players, a little bit. Gameplay that requires quick reaction time, nope. Gameplay that is fast-paced and intense, sometimes. Being immersed in another world or place makes a big deal. Working towards a common goal, love that. It's part of why you might have noticed, you look over the streams, man, I stream a lot of extraction shooters, which, you might not know this if you look at kind of the industry the last 12 months where everyone thinks they're popular. They're not. They're very, very niche. It is a very niche genre. I know there's been a couple of games in the last 12 to 18 months that have come out and done very well in the genre. But again, people really are failing to appreciate, or not necessarily people, but I think the video game companies, the devs, the money men, and the art side of things, I think in the industry, they really have failed to understand how niche that product is, extraction shooters. But for me, why I like them, going back here, is because it's a common goal. We're not just trying to shoot each other in the face and climb a leaderboard. There's an alien we need to take down. There's a threat that needs to be eliminated, or something we're working towards together. I like that. That's what I like about extraction shooters. Blowing things up, yeah, blow it up. Competing with other players, don't care. Gameplay that requires careful decision-making, sometimes you don't want to have to think too much, right? It's one thing to be like, I'm going to build a road from point A to point B because later I'm going to have like a boat here. But it's another thing to be like, you need to be careful. Like, okay, just let me make a choice, right? Agent of chaos and destruction. Sometimes that's fun. Gameplay with lots of blood and gore. Absolutely not. Gameplay with constant action and excitement. Sometimes. How often, a little bit different here. How often do I do the following things? Ooh, this one could be scary. Yikes. Try out many different things to test what the Often. We often do this. Almost always, but we'll say often because it's not always. How often do we focus on increasing our stats or levels? Pretty much always. Put considerable time into customizing characters. That one's pretty often as well. Actually, kind of a surprising lot of time where I will finish a recording session or a stream. I'll be going back to see if there's anything that has been particularly egregious and needs to be addressed. And to my absolute shock and surprise, I'll be like, oh, okay, I recorded for 2 hours. I've got 2 hours of good footage. And I'll be combing through and be like, I had 42 minutes of hair customization. This is out of control. There aren't even that many hair options or whatever it might have been, right? Experiment with objects in the world just to see what happens. Sometimes. Explore the game world for the sake of exploring it. Rarely. I'm much more objective faced where there will be times. This is a problem for me with Crimson Desert where I'd be exploring for the sake of exploring and I would be punished for it. As in Crimson Desert, you needed to grind out a couple of hours of the main quest, somewhere between 10 and 25, before the world actually opened up. And because of that, you would go to explore and no one would talk to you in a place until you'd finished a quest that you didn't know you were waiting to finish. It was like such a bummer because I kept wanting to explore that world and it kept punishing me for it. And finally, I just put my head down, completed about 25 hours of main quest, and then a lot of things opened up. It was really a bummer, but it was what it was. So we'll say rarely do I explore for the sake of exploring it, but I do that from time to time, but it's rare that games let you. Study other players to improve my own gameplay. That's an interesting one where this is definitely something I'm comfortable doing, but not necessarily something I usually need to do because I'm not consistently engaging with a product that's asking me to do that. I play a lot of things all by myself happily, but at the same time, when I have been playing things that are definitely more competitive and multiplayer, I'm absolutely looking at what other people are doing to see if there's something I can learn. Not necessarily because I think I'm doing the wrong thing. More so, I want to do better or I want to learn something new or different. So we're going to say always, even though it's kind of a weird fit. Put a lot of thought and effort into character creation. This one is often. We have been given the gamer type, the Architect. Gamer motto, my empire begins with this village. Your primary player type is the Architect. Architects are solo gamers that enjoy planning, decision-making, and progression. They prefer slow-paced, relaxing games where they can plan and build something grand that will endure. They are absolutely correct, but without answering a single question, they could have gotten that from quite literally any of the games I recommended. Go figure. Let's see our gamer motivation profile. So for me here, it lists me as aggressive, analytical, ambitious, independent, deeply immersed, and practical. Your profile consists of your percentile ranks across a broad range of gaming motivations. Your scores are based on how strong your motivations are relative to other gamers. Okay, interesting. So we're kind of a weird shape here where it shows high on immersion and achievement, but these actually aren't very high, right? Where on a scale of 0 to 100, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are under 25, right? And only 2 of them are over 50, but not to 75%. Very interesting. A quick word on percentiles. A percentile of 80% means you scored higher than 80% of gamers. Conversely, a percentile of 10% means 90% of gamers have a higher score than you. This means that 50% is perfectly average. So looking back at this, 81% of all gamers are much more interested in action, right? 86% of all gamers are much more interested in the social aspect. And very few gamers, so only 27% of gamers care about immersion more than me. Very interesting. And then secondary motivations are very, very curious, where you can see competition, excitement, challenge are very, very low, where comparatively completion, fantasy, discovery, much, much higher. So I scored a 19 on their action score here. Gamers with a high action score are aggressive and like to jump in the fray and be surrounded by dramatic visuals and effects. Gamers with low action scores prefer slower paced games with calmer settings. This is true. But again, even without doing any of their survey, they would have known that just from the six or so games they recommended. Like, what did you play recently you liked, right? Excitement. Gamers who score high in this component enjoy. They want gameplay that is full of action and thrills and reward them for rapid reaction times. Destruction. Gamers who score high on this component are agents of chaos and destruction. They love having many tools at their disposal to blow things up and cause mayhem. They enjoy games with lots of guns and explosives. They gravitate towards titles like Call of Duty and Battlefield. And if they accidentally find themselves in games like The Sims, they are the ones figuring out innovative ways to get their Sims killed. Ooh, might be guilty as charged, but I'm not going to talk about that. I'm just going to plead the fifth, I suppose. I hear that's popular these days. The social component. Gamers with a high social score enjoy interacting with other players, often regardless of whether they're collaborating or competing. Yikes. So you can see here I scored a 6% on that competition thing. So, surprise, supplies. Competitive gameplay can be found in titles, for example, StarCraft, League of Legends, and PvP, Battlegrounds, and World of Warcraft. But competition isn't always overly combative. Competitive players may care about being acknowledged as the best healer or having a high ranking level on some Facebook farming game. Oh my goodness. This is not me. They're not going to catch me later with that one. Miss me on that one. Community. Gamers who score high on community enjoy socializing and collaborating with other people while gaming. Nope, not necessarily. I'm happy minding my own business. Gamers with a high master score like challenging gaming experiences. It's so interesting. I would love to see the correlation between players who genuinely enjoy Souls games. That is their main game. That is their comfy game. That is where they spend the most time. And gamers who don't is, man, I complete a lot of Souls games from the last 5 or 10 years. If you look at kind of like in the last, every other year what the biggest Souls game or action game was, man, I crushed that thing. But I'll tell you what, every time I finish one, I have the same thought. I'm taking a break. I'm done. Like that just took it out of me. Like I'm good. Like it was fun. I enjoyed it, but like I'm not coming back anytime soon. And you'll see it's kind of like every other year, once every 3 years, I'll like go through a little phase of this. But it's true that these, I'd be really interested in kind of that correlation, right? Where even though I appreciate the game and I enjoyed my time in it, I walk away from it going, I'm good. Like I don't need that again. But it's again kind of curious that I score so high in strategy, right? Gamers who score high on this component enjoy games that require careful decision making and planning. They like to think their options through. These may be decisions related to balancing resources and competing goals, managing foreign diplomacy, or finding optimal long-term strategies. If you look at some of those games I recommended right at the start, a lot of them do have a reward for picking a good long-term strategy. Very, very interesting. Man, I do love Fire Emblem. That's such a good game. Oh man, I'm excited for the new one. The achievement component. Gamers with high achievement scores are driven to accrue power, rare items, and collectibles, even if this means grinding for a while. That's true. I will absolutely see that I could like run something twice and get something that's like slightly better. I'll be like, I'll run it twice and come back to whatever I was doing before. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Gamers with low achievement scores have a relaxed attitude toward in-game achievements and don't worry about their scores or progress in game. I would love to see the correlation between gamers who score low in the achievement component, but lean towards things like earlier with Call of Duty and Battlefield in the destruction category, that action component. Because I have a suspicion that those games all have a leaderboard, but I don't think people worry about their leaderboard score that much. I think if people really cared about their leaderboard score, they would stop playing or, it'd become toxic like League, right? Where I bet League players are pretty tied to that achievement because your rank is your status, right? Very interesting. I'd be very curious to see like some of the larger data sets here. Power, 96%. Gamers who score high on this component strive for power in the context of their game world. They want to become as powerful as possible. I think it's one of the reasons I've always enjoyed Skyrim, which is you are the hero, right? Like you are going to save the game. You're the hero of legends. You've been born with a dragon soul inside of you. Spoilers, I suppose. But bottom line, Skyrim is a power fantasy. It's one of the reasons that I think it's kind of awkward when you see someone who bounces off a game similar to Skyrim. You're like, but why didn't you like this? Like they're almost identical in all their systems, but the key difference is one of them's a power fantasy and one of them is not. So you're in RPG and action games. This may mean maxing stats or acquiring the most powerful weapons or artifact. Absolutely. That's fun for me. When I pick up I remember Baldur's Gate 3 launch week, I'm live streaming it. I find this super sweet magic mace. I thought it was so cool. I was so excited. It changed everything. Like it was a legendary rare weapon. I had to do this big puzzle with these monks to get it. I was so hyped for that. Like that was fun in that moment, even though I hadn't even used it yet. There it is. Power and completion often go hand in hand, but some players enjoy collecting cosmetic items without caring about power, while some players prefer attaining power through strategic optimization rather than grinding. Yeah, that makes sense. Fair enough. The creativity components. I got a 36% in design. That means that 64% of gamers score higher than me. And so this is someone who wants to actively express their individuality in a game world. I don't really care about that. The immersive component. So I scored higher than average on this one, right? Above the 50%. Gamers with a high immersion score want games with interesting narratives. Yep, you caught me. Characters. Yep, you caught me. And setting. Okay, 3 for 3. It's part of why I like Dragon's Dogma 2 so much. It's an interesting narrative with interesting characters in an interesting place. They caught me. Now, these players can be deeply immersed in the alternative worlds created by games. Gamers with low immersion scores are more grounded in the gameplay mechanics and care less about the narrative experience that the game offers. That is very true. It's actually something that I have notes on for my reviews channel to be very, very careful that my bias towards the importance of narrative in my bias towards less of an importance on gameplay mechanics doesn't bleed into my review. I actually have quite literally guardrails set up when I'm going through my metrics to make sure I haven't weighted things silly in one direction, because I will absolutely look at a system and be like, nobody cares about that. And like everyone cares about that. So let's get some recommendations for the things that I scored highest in. Okay, I've made a mistake here. So what I'm doing is it keeps showing me your personalized recommendations based on this profile. I thought it was recommendations based on this profile here for this category, but it's not. It's actually recommendations for the entire profile, which is why each time I keep tabbing over to see it, it keeps showing me the same list. It's because it's the complete recommendations. So top of the list here, they're recommending Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader. They're recommending Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous. They're recommending Victoria 3. They're recommending Total Warhammer 3. They're recommending Dyson Sphere Program, Starfield, Stellaris, Crusader Kings 3, Mountain Blade, Bannerlord, and Anno 1800. And jokes on them, I've played them all to some degree or another, or at least looked at them. So let's go ahead and look at long-term data, see if that changes it. If I change the recommendation to use more of their long-term data and more niche titles, we end up with Battletech, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, Unicorn Overlords, Total War Warhammer 3, Anno 1800, Stellaris, Fallout 2, XCOM 2, Victoria 3, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Not bad recommendations. Based on the things I put in, these would be appropriate games to recommend. Yeah, top of the list, Warhammer 40K Rogue Trader, which is very funny. I keep waiting for them to finish that game to dive into it. I saw it when it was starting out. I saw it when it came out. I've seen they keep updating it. I will wait till they're done, and then it goes on sale and buy the whole thing and love every second of it. That's my big plan for that, which is funny because this is one I've been just on the edge of my seat waiting for. So they nailed it. I mean, they nailed it. But also, I gave them all the right data to give me an easy answer. You know, like nothing here surprised me. And I think anyone that's paid, you know, an unhealthy amount of attention to what I've been doing online through my channels would have come to a similar conclusion.